Well, hey everybody, John Ripplin here, and this is every WCW Starrcade opening match ranked from worst to best. And if you saw the, every Starrcade main event ranked from worst to best video, you'll know how I felt about how they closed these shows. If you didn't, there is a link somewhere up here, and you can check that out. But also, for any pay-per-view, opening the show proper and hot is important. And that's what I'm going to look at here. So, less of an introduction than I did for the main event one, since I had to set the scene as to why I'm doing these. Basically, I'm tired of the current product, WWE product. I want to reflect back on some stuff that I enjoyed, even if I'm going to have to rant about a few things. So, here we go. 18 matches in all from 1983 to 2000. And no, I'm not going to count the WWE Revival. Not the Revival Tag Team, I love them, but the Starrcade Revival. So, number 18, the Mamalukes, which was Big Vito and Johnny the Bull with Tony Marinara. I don't know, he was like the most sauceless individual I've ever seen. Versus Disco Inferno and Lash LaRue. If you can't guess why this one is here, by the way, it's from Starrcade 99. Disco Inferno, who, by the way, is still wrestling because apparently Impact Wrestling, at least as of this time, has him employed. Pretty fucking stupid thing to do. Why are they having him wrestle in 2019? Why did WCW have this fucking hack, this fucking moron, that apparently hates the idea of women in wrestling because he had the job to one, because Jacqueline was a much better worker than he could ever hope to be? Why in the world did WCW think it was a good idea to put him here? Now, Lash LaRue, from what I saw, he was fine. I never got the biggest, holy crap, I gotta watch him. But he was a good worker. I mean, I don't think he lasted really that long, at least in the mainstream. This match is just throwaway, though. It was during the Russo time in WCW, so most every match was a throwaway. And yeah, the Mamalukes. Vito and Johnny the Bulls deserved a whole lot better, I'll say that much. Number 17, we got Denny Brown versus Mike Davis for the NWA Junior Heavyweight Championship from Starrcade 84. I remember watching this and just not caring. I just remember not caring one goddamn bit. And it wasn't that either of these guys were bad workers. I just had no investment. And the match was over in like 5.5 minutes. So if I have no investment in it, why the fuck should I care about any of this stuff? Like, honestly, it wasn't bad, but it was just very throwaway. This was when, Crockett was, getting a whole bunch of, other territories and other titles in there. And working relationships. And boy, I'm going to have a list of, every world title, match. In Starrcade World Title Match ranked from worst to best video at some point, after this one. And there's a lot of titles that I totally forgot about, and I'm going to have some scathing rants for some of that. So, anyway, yeah, not really that great of a match. It was okay. And then we get number 16, Van Hammer and Dan Spivey. Yes, Dan Spivey was still wrestling in WCW in 1992. Forgot about that. By the way, taking place at Starrcade 92. They took on Johnny B. Bad and Cactus Jack. The Lethal Lottery concept, as I touched on in the, main event video that I talked, the Starrcade main event video that I just mentioned. Yeah, I hate the Lethal Lottery concept. Sometimes it could lead to a few good matches, but more often than not, I think it was just trying to be different and it didn't really work. And this was an example where, look, in Van Hammer and Cactus Jack had some decent matches sometime in 91. Wasn't that bad. I mean, Van Hammer was a good enough worker. He was never going to be more than a mid-card in WCW. I do remember liking him a lot as a kid, headbanging and everything, and carrying the colorful guitar, and being good for what he was. He at least looked good, and he had a good moveset, and he was part of Raven's flock, which was weird. But yeah, this not that good. It was pretty throwaway. I mean, Lethal Lottery, what do you want me to say? A lot of times you're going to get shit, sometimes you might get something good. This was shit. Number 15, Tim Horner, noted idiot that he is, and Nelson Royal, whoever he is, no disrespect, versus Rocky and Don Kernodle from Starrcade 86. And look, this, I just didn't get. One, Horner never impressed me. I mean, Nelson Royal, he wasn't bad. Don Kernodle had teamed up with Sergeant Slaughter for a number of years. Rocky, I wasn't that familiar with. Since I had no investment really in a lot of these guys, I didn't really care. It wasn't bad. I just didn't care. And again, Tim Horner, not really that good of a worker, ever. Then we get to number 14, the Assassins versus Rufus R. Jones and Bugsy McGraw from the opening match of the very first Starrcade, 1983. Not bad, not great. Assassins were pretty over, the masked assassins, as I can say that easily. Rufus R. Jones, again, I tried to study as much older wrestling as I can. There are some wrestlers that speak to me. Jones was here and there. I didn't mind him. Bugsy McGraw, he was okay. It was an alright tag match. It was what it was. Nothing great, but certainly nothing like where, holy crap, this is like the worst way to kick off Starrcade 83. Nah, it wasn't that bad. And then we get Bobby Eaton versus a Z-Man, Tom Zenk, from 1990. And that's at number 13. And Bobby Eaton won, so that's pretty much the only reason why this, match gets up. Because, look, Tom Zenk, who was decent in tags, not that good as a single star. He was okay. He wasn't anything memorable. The Can-Am connection and teaming with Brian Pillman, that stuff didn't really last all that long, mainly because, stuff just didn't end up working out. It was okay. Again, Bobby Eaton won. And Starrcade 90, not exactly the most memorable one. Like, 89, they did a couple tournaments that worked well, tag team and singles. In 1990, they tried to do one where the idea may have been to actually, do it like in the name of like somebody that had passed, or do it like, in the name of great tag team wrestling. Sorry, didn't really work there. This, not that great. And then we get to number 12, Marcus Bagwell and Jimmy Garvin versus Michael Hayes and Tracy Smothers. This was from Starrcade 91. The whole idea of Battle Bowl, which team would go on to advance, and no. This was better than like, the one they had from 92 that I talked about that opened, but Marcus Bagwell wasn't really all that much, and you had Jimmy Garvin and Michael Hayes, who were the fake Freebirds. They were on opposite sides, so naturally they were going to team up. And Tracy Smothers, I have no memory of Tracy Smothers being in WCW, which means it probably didn't last all that long. And nothing against Tracy Smothers, he was fine for a worker as he was. Marcus Bagwell, who would later become Buff Bagwell. Sorry, I just never got it with him. He could have flashes of brilliance, but a lot of times I just didn't think he was all that good. Number 11, we have Crusher Khrushchev, Barry Darsow, who would later become Smash, and most importantly, Repo Man. And then Hole-in-One Barry Darsow. Why did he have so many goddamn gimmicks? And who the fuck thought a golf gimmick would get over? But that aside, Crusher Khrushchev versus Sam Houston. Not the Sam Houston Coliseum, but an actual wrestler named Sam Houston. From 1985 Starrcade. It was alright. Crusher Khrushchev was getting going at this point. He, I want to say he had just gotten back from a knee injury, or maybe he had a knee injury sometime like, just shortly after this. Because I remember, a story being brought up about how he had a knee injury right after he had him and his wife were having a kid. But I remember Khrushchev actually being pretty damn good. Darsow was pretty good in that gimmick. It wasn't a bad match. It wasn't great, but Sam was actually a good worker, even though if you look at his WWE run, didn't really have all that, great of a didn't have all that great of a career there. But it was what it was. Then we get number 10, Eddie Gilbert, Larry Zbyszko, Rick Steiner versus Jimmy Garvin, Michael Hayes, and Sting from Starrcade 87. Yes, Jimmy Garvin, Michael Hayes, and Sting, and I think they were supposed to be the faces, which was weird. Sting starting off hot. I mean, just doing, some great dives, and Garvin and Hayes being pretty good here. It was a really good 15. I think it ended up going to a 15-minute draw. It was a really good opening 6-man tag match. Considering the talent there, you would think that it would be, but looking at these teams, you think it's kind of a mishmash. No, they actually worked really goddamn well together, and I was actually very impressed. Then we get number 9, Pretty Wonderful, which was Paul Roma and Paul Orndorff. Really good team, by the way. Versus Too Cold Scorpio and Marcus Alexander Bagwell from 1993 Starrcade. Not great, but good. Pretty Wonderful was actually a very underrated team, I thought. Too Cold and Scorpio. Too Cold and Bagwell were actually really good together. It just like the problem is they were two polar opposites, and Too Cold, was the better athlete and the better worker and had charisma. Buff sort of had charisma. That was about it. Again, my opinion as a fan. It was a good tag match. nothing spectacular, but a fine way to open the show. A lot of people dump on Starrcade 93. I actually like quite a bit of it. I'm not saying it's great, and I can certainly respect if people say it's not that great. I enjoyed Starrcade 93, though. Then we get to the Steiners versus Doom. It was my attempt to do a Futurama Morbo voice, and I failed miserably. But yeah, it's from Starrcade 89. It's at the number 8 spot. This was one of the matches in that, tournament that I had talked about, where it was like 4 teams, and I believe it was Doom, the Road Warriors, Steiners, and the Samoan SWAT team versus, and that was them. And then it was Sting, Luger, Muta, and Flair in the singles tournament. So it was round robin stuff. I enjoyed this one, though, even if like the finish was a little fluky. Steiners and Doom hitting each other really hard. Doom, another tag team that doesn't often get talked about. Butch Reed and Ron Simmons were really good. And the Steiners, one of my favorite tag teams of all time. Like, if I looked at tag teams all over, and I'm talking from like New Japan, AWA, WWE, WCW, that kind of stuff, Jim Crockett, whatever, I probably would rank the Steiners in the top 5. Like, seriously, I just love the Steiners. I just thought they were great. But they did well here. I mean, it was a great match. Yeah, okay, again, I believe the count-out finish wasn't really all that great, in retrospect, but I enjoyed the match for what it was, and up until that point, it was fine. Had it been a more decisive finish, I probably would have ranked this a little bit higher, but it was what it was. And then we go to number 7, Kevin Sullivan and Dr. Death Steve Williams versus the Fantastics for the U.S. Tag Team Championship from Starrcade 88. Very good. And I'm not a big fan of Kevin Sullivan. I think he's pretty much a rotten worker, and I don't really understand the appeal, and I think he's kind of a shady, shitty person. But that's just my take, of course. I just got this weird scuzzy feeling every time I saw him on TV. Dr. Death Steve Williams, though, fantastic. Fulton and Rogers were absolutely great as Fantastics. And it was a great U.S. Tag Title match. U.S. Tag Team Championships, I don't think stuck around much long. I take that back. I think they were around until 91, 92. And then they went away. So they did stay around a couple years after this. But for a while, they were seen as really, really big championships. And this was a great, great contest. I mean, even though, again, I don't care for Sullivan, him and Williams did have some really good chemistry. So really hard to complain about this one. And then we go to number 6, Vader versus Jim Duggan for the U.S. title at Starrcade 94. Well, at least Vader won. I mean, nothing against Jim Duggan as a person. He seems like a nice guy. I'm sure he is. He had no business being U.S. champion in 94. None. I know he didn't win a title in WWE. And there are people who are like, oh, that's ridiculous. You could argue about that. I didn't really care. But Vader winning here was absolutely what needed to be. I mean, Vader, I don't even think had the title. I think he had the title for like a little bit, then relinquished it. But at least it was on somebody that I could take seriously. I could just not take Jim Duggan seriously as champion. I just couldn't. And it will also have... I'm going to mash up TV title and U.S. title, matches at Starrcade. Since I didn't have enough to fill out a full list, I'm going to have a list of those and just, rank them here and there. So I'll have that video up at some point. So yeah, I do hope you guys are, by the way, enjoying this. So thank you very much for watching. Vader and Jim Duggan, though, for what it was, I did not expect this match to be very good. I really did enjoy this opener. And Vader won. Fantastic. Number 5, 3 count, which was Shane Helms and Shannon Moore, the Young Dragons, which was Jimmy Yang, which would later become Jimmy Wang Yang, and Kaz Hayashi versus Evan Courageous and Jamie Noble. And if I remember right, Jamie Noble was a member of the Young Dragons, and not all that great. I think he was under a mask. So I think this so they could make it obvious that he wasn't actually, Southern, teaming up with 2 Japanese guys. And it was a ladder match to determine who would face the Cruiserweight champion the next night. But only one person could win. So it's a tag team ladder match, three-way tag team ladder match to earn a Cruiserweight title shot that only one person can win. So the team, the team unity ends. The more I think about how stupid the stipulations are for this, I want to push it further down. But no, I'm not going to discount the work for these guys. That these guys did. And they did fantastic work. Sure, okay. Only 2/3 of the commentary was any good because you had Tony Schiavone and you had Scott Hudson and you had, that little bitch Mark Madden there, and that's all he ever sounds like. All he ever sounds like on there, on Twitter or on anything, The guy can't let go of the fact that DDP Yoga justifiably got him fired from the company. Thank you, DDP. You did us all a favor. This match, though, was great. And great car crash stuff. Yeah, they maybe did a few too many risks, but by God, the Cruiserweights were going to show that they could do some great things. And they did. They did some fantastic work. I really have no complaints about this one. Except, again, the fact that, I mean, you had Shane Helms and Shannon Moore. They pulled down the contract at the same time. So they both get to face Chavo Guerrero. Yeah, it was Chavo Guerrero. So at least he was there to nullify any badness on commentary. He, was like, oh, wait, who's going to face me? And then I think this led to Shane and Shannon Moore being co-champions, which didn't work when they did it in WWE. Not with the Cruiserweight title, with like the Intercontinental title. Sorry, it didn't work with Chyna and Jericho being co-champions. It didn't. Pick one and stick with it. But not a bad, booking shit aside, it was actually a really, really good match. Car crash, thankfully, hopefully nobody ended up seriously injured. Because it looked like Kaz Hayashi landed pretty goddamn bad. Kaz Hayashi, I wonder what the fuck happened to him. I remember him being really goddamn good. I remember enjoying his work in WCW. Wonder what happened to him. Leave in the comments if you guys know what happened. Because at the time of this video, I can't check it on my phone. Anyway, number 4, Kidman versus Juventud Guerrera versus Rey Mysterio. Cruiserweight title 3-way, Starrcade 98. I enjoyed the fuck out of this one. Really good. And Kidman would face Eddie Guerrero afterwards and beat him. They really smashed Kidman over in 98 and in 99. As far as being a great cruiserweight wrestler. And they were smart to do it. As far as in-ring ability. Okay, maybe promos he wasn't all that great with. But, you could work around that. Kidman really shining here, and Hoovy and Ray, everybody did really well. And this is during the LWO stuff, which was really shit, but it got him on TV. That was great, but not all that great use of them. I still can't, fault these guys for having a great fucking match and a great cruiserweight title match. In fact, I would almost rank the cruiserweight matches from worst to best, but the problem is the cruiserweight championship didn't get reestablished until 96. So it'd be like 5 matches. And I'm talking about most of them here. But a good match for what it was. And then we get to number 3, which was Jushin Thunder Liger versus Chris Benoit, WCW versus New Japan, from Starrcade 95. Ignoring the whole, putting aside the stuff with Benoit. Him versus Liger. Yes, Wild Pegasus, Jushin Thunder Liger back at the Super J Cup, and Pegasus Kid, Wild Pegasus, whatever. They had some great matches, and this was a continuation of that. Really can't find any complaints with this. It was like a 10-11 minute match. It was really well done, and sure, some of the New Japan, WCW, head-to-heads didn't necessarily work. This one did. I encourage you guys to go out and watch it. Number 2, Ultimo Dragon, or he was Ultimate Dragon at the time, versus Dean Malenko for the Cruiserweight title, but it was actually the J Crown, set. It was like the J Crown Cruiserweight Championships or Junior Heavyweight Championships. It was like championships from Mexico and Britain and Germany and Japan and stuff like that and everything. And it was Ultimo defending, the J Crown because he faced off against, and I believe it was for the Cruiserweight title also. So it was because Dean had captured the Cruiserweight title again. And Ultimo had beaten Rey Mysterio, to defend his J Crown at World War III the month before. This was a great match. They would have a better match, or maybe arguably just as good of a match, if not a little better, on the Clash of Champions a month later. But this was great. You really can't find any flaws with this. I almost put this number 1, but Ultimo winning. I think he faced off against Jushin Thunder Liger in 90. I think for the big show that they did in the beginning of 97. It wasn't Wrestle Kingdom yet. The Wrestle Kingdom name actually wouldn't come along until about 2006. But Ultimo and Liger facing off and everything, and I could only imagine just having an absolutely blow away match. I got to see Ultimo Dragon at an indie show about 3 weeks ago. And I can tell you that was a fucking thrill, being able to see, one of the guys that I really admired in wrestling. And still able to move so goddamn well despite being in his early 50s. Absolutely amazing. So, that was a great match. But number 1, Eddie Guerrero versus Dean Malenko for the Cruiserweight title, Starrcade 97. Eddie and Dean. That's all I need to say. It was a great fucking match. It honestly was. It was exactly what a Cruiserweight title match should be. It's absolutely what a match should be. how to kick off with a proper championship match and how to kick off with some great action. And sure, Eddie ended up winning. You may have wondered why Dean suddenly lost, but Eddie had just won the title back from Rey, I think. I can't remember if he won it back on a Nitro a few weeks later, or if he won it back at World War III. I think he won it back at World War III. I know he lost it on Halloween Havoc just a few excuse me, just a few weeks before that. So, which was an absolutely blow-away match with Rey. Now, this was a great match, so Dean and Eddie could just do no wrong. Two good friends, two great friends, and sadly, Eddie's no longer with us, but this is just such a great fucking match. Best match of Starrcade 97, easily, because it sure as fuck wasn't the main event. But anyway, that's what I have to say, so I'm going to finish up this video, but let me know what you guys think in the comments. Are there other pay-per-views, WCW pay-per-views, you would like to see me do? Because I might be doing ones for Halloween Havoc and Great American Bash, just so you know. But let me know in the comments. Maybe I'll do ones for WWE pay-per-views. You can leave those in the comments as well. Like, you know, like main event matches or this kind of stuff, or opening matches. You let me know. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I will see you soon.